some of the things that I've been shown are people leaning into these gifts and exploring what it means to them. And I think telepathy is going to become even more of a practice. I know that the podcast, the telepathy tapes, was pretty recent and widely popular. So going along that thread, I do feel like just like my dream with the woman who had died, she was speaking to me telepathically in my dream. Her mouth wasn't moving, but I got the information. And my grandmother would always talk about telepathy and how it would just drop into her head. And I do think that's a natural state for humans, but I think that so much fear and low vibrational things like shame, sadness, I think it weighs the frequency down. And so, with more and more people getting curious, because I think curiosity is a higher vibration, then I think there's going to be a tipping point where more and more people will get curious. But I think it's us actually returning to more of a natural state. And I think it could be tied to some of our origins, because even when I do client work, sometimes there will be a variety of different types of beings that will come in. So, an example would be a spirit guide. And a spirit guide feels um, almost like the energy of logic, if I'm going to describe it that way. Angelic frequency feels lighter, just like somebody may imagine like a feather or a cloud feeling. When a galactic being steps in, they are at a higher pitch, a higher frequency. And I think that we as a species here on Earth, we are moving closer into that frequency that's that higher pitch. And so, with that, I think we're going to be connecting with other kinds of galactic beings, but I don't think it's going to be scary. And so, why I bring that up is because Spirit is literally flashing in front of me right now, the movie Arrival. And for anyone that hasn't seen it, go run and watch it. It's spectacular. And sometimes, yes, I fantasize about being the woman in the movie who's the interpreter for the for the aliens. I'm
She's a
like, I could,
linguist, right? She does the
yes,
linguistic, yeah.
I'm like, I could do that. Because I do think it's telepathy. I think that we can communicate with different kinds of beings. I don't think that we have to go find the alien race that only speaks English, right? It's like, no, we're dealing with energy here. So I think that we're going to be moving back into that space that many of us have had before in other lifetimes, where those were just natural things that we did. So I'm actually looking forward to where we're headed. But between now and then, there's a lot that happens between those two touch points.
Can you tell us more about what you believe happens between those two touch points?
Ooh, yeah. Where do I start? There's a lot that's gonna there's a lot. Okay. I'd like to describe it, I think, first by saying the visual I get from spirit. If you've ever seen like a puppeteer that has marionettes, the puppets, the strings that they're holding. So hopefully your audience doesn't mind, but we're the puppets. And so we're on the strings, right? Like that's what I get symbolically from spirit is, we've lived in a way, at least in the recent decades, where we kind of have an idea of what our life should be. A lot of people think, at least in the United States, okay, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to marry somebody, have a couple kids, maybe start a business, like there's all these things, we're told that we should do. And I think that we're going to be breaking out of a lot of those patterns that we've had. I think humans will end up feeling a lot more liberated in a lot of ways. But right now, I think we're those puppets realizing that there's some strings and we're starting to question, wait, what is this? What's going on? Like we were talking about a minute ago of like, why am I here? Why did my soul choose to be here? These bigger questions. What's my purpose? So we're starting to notice that there's strings. I also think we're in this frequency of the movie The Truman Show. And that's also such a great movie. But I feel like it's becoming like fact rather than like a fictional movie. Where I even find myself sometimes wondering, like, what are we living in right now? Is there some kind of simulation? Is there some kind of dimension that we're in that's a container for this experience of Earth School? So I think that those are a couple things that we're like moving through is the puppets and the Truman Show. But now that we're starting to wake up more and more and people are becoming more aware of this, going back to the term like tipping point, I think we're going to enter into a time in the near future where more and more people see the strings and go, wait a second, I thought my life was going to be this, this, and this, and it's not working out like I thought it was going to. So now I'm having to rethink why I'm here and what's going to make me feel fulfilled in this lifetime because I think a lot of people are questioning their own fulfillment.
Yeah, it's yeah, I call it white picket fence lane that we're sort of being guided down. And then it's just more and more people are like, yo, what's going on over here? You know, just like, yeah. And I think it's just naturally coming through more and more for people. I mean, one of the questions I had for you today was, is the veil getting thinner or are we becoming more attuned to the other side of the veil? Or like, yeah, do you understand my question?
I do.
Does it make
Yeah.
sense?
I
Your thoughts on
think
that?
I think it's because more of us are interested in looking at it. It's almost like what you focus on expands. And so I think because we're getting more interested and we feel like something's just off, that it's revealing itself more to us. But I think that it's always been there. I think if we're attuned to the right frequency, that we can explore that whenever we want, which I think is a lot of the psychic work or mediumship work is being attuned to the right frequency and that frequency being a match for what you are attempting or leaning into to get information. Because I think psychic information or looking at what events could transpire, that is one frequency. And so we get our frequency high enough as an individual, and we can then start pulling in psychic predictions, you could say, or downloads, right? Working with our clair gifts. Mediumship is higher than that in my experience. And so you have to get your frequency even higher to then meet where spirit is at. And I don't think spirit is off in some far off portion of the clouds. And I don't mean that to be insulting to anyone, but I don't think that they're removed in this place that we can't get to. I actually think they're like right on the other side of the wall. And anytime I've ever done mediumship, the spirit shows up in front of me, basically like hovering a few feet off the ground. But they never say, like, oh, it took me a long time to get here. It's always like, oh, yeah, hi, So I know that they're close by. So I think more and more people will be feeling downloads and getting psychic information just because we're focusing more of our attention and curiosity there. But I've been shown a lot of information about where we're at if nothing changed, right? Because I do believe in free will and I do believe in fate. And I think we have both. And so there are likelihoods of what we could be entering into, everything from money to housing to food to jobs. I mean, you name it, our lives are really going to be changing very, very rapidly, especially as we bring on new technologies and artificial intelligence. So we can talk about, what we see coming in and what I've downloaded as a psychic.
Hey there, Inspired Evolutionary. If you absolutely love this, well, then here's a full conversation with this guest on the Inspired Evolution podcast. Check it out now.